Well, let's go from evolution to zombies, because we love talking about zombies on the SGU.
And it's a very smooth transition.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This author named David Dietel on crack.com wrote a really cool... Dietel?
Dietel.
Anyway,
Dietel.
This guy's pretty cool. I looked into him, and he writes a lot of those lists that you find, say, on dig.com, like grouping things together. Like, for example, the article that we're going to talk about tonight, 7 scientific reasons a zombie outbreak would fail.
Well, that's all Cracked ever does, by the way. Cracked is an entire website of a number of interesting things to get a link back. But Cracked is very good for doing skeptical topics.
Yeah. Hey, there's science and zombie in the same headline, so we have to.
You gotta love it.
Yeah.
So I went through the list. It was a lot of fun reading this. The guy's funny, and he came up with some interesting things that I hadn't thought about before about the impending zombie horde that is definitely on its way. I have a little more hope now. I think Bob and I could breathe a little sigh of relief. But check this out. So I'd like to hear your feedback on these. Okay, guys, so the first one on this list is they have too many natural predators. And to briefly go over what he wrote underneath that one, he's basically saying humans are excellent at killing, and we're simply too smart and too well armed for any wild animal to hunt us. And if you consider the zombie kind of like a wild animal, we'll wreck it because we're way too good as a natural predator. And so not only are we a good natural predator, like we're very dangerous, but everything on the planet would be dangerous to the zombie as well. So the author writes, zombies in any part of the world with a fly problem are going to be swarming with maggots in short order, meaning that most of their soft tissues will be infested and their eyes will be useless very quickly.
All right, hold on. So clearly this guy never read the Zombie Survival Guide or World War Z.
Absolutely.
But the bigger point is that whenever you're talking about any kind of analysis of the logistics of being a zombie and a zombie invasion, you have to start with, well, how are they zombies in the first place? Yeah. What kind of zombies are they? Throughout his points, they're fine points in terms of a thought experiment, but he's assuming that a zombie is literally a walking corpse, that there is nothing else extraordinary about it.
How ignorant.
Right? That it will rot at the same rate that a corpse rots, and it'll be fresh meat for predators and scavengers, everything. Whereas, for example, in the Zombie Survival Guide, he
Max
explained,
Brooks.
Yeah, so his zombies it's caused by some kind of infection, but that it changes the flesh of the zombie so that animals don't like to eat them. They are in fact scared by them, and predators will have nothing to do with them.
Yeah, the meat is actually poisonous, and even bacteria won't.
Or maggots.
Won't enhance the decay. So Max had a kind of a different take than most other presentations of zombies, and I love his take on it. But clearly, what he's saying, a lot of what this guy says, doesn't really apply to his special kind of zombie. And he treats them as really just walking corpses without anything kind of else beyond that. So, but it's still a very funny treatment.
And what he says is true. It's true, but that's what would happen to corpses. They would get eaten by maggots and predators, and other stuff that Jay's going to tell us about.
You understand that what would really happen to corpses is they would lie there. So after that, you're just kind of asking who would win in a fight, a Kirk zombie or a Picard zombie. So, you're adding layer upon layer of this. So I read this as kind of
it's easy because Picard has experience as a Borg, so he'd probably win.
Ah, good one.
That's true. Well, Picard was more intellectual, and Kirk was more into the hotness of the women. So Kirk wouldn't care about their brains. So
hot zombie women.
So yeah, Picard would make a better zombie.
None of this really makes good sense unless you take it like these are really more walking corpses than they are traditional zombies. Because I agree with Steve. I mean, traditionally zombies are not in any way of any interest as food by any animal.
Yeah,
they don't eat each other too. So okay, so to continue down, we'll make this pretty quick. But basically, it says zombies can't take the heat. That's the next one. So. He said that heat's going to accelerate decay, putrefaction would get split up, the gut flora would take over. He says that the dead bodies basically would bloat and explode. which is possible, right, Steve?
Yeah, absolutely. The bacteria decay the body, release a lot of gas, which builds up in the cavities. They bloat up. They may explode, depends.
Now you're talking about having a zombie bomb, though. I think that makes them more terrifying.
Yeah.
I mean, you've basically got fully equipped suicidal bombers.
You should play City of Heroes, Rebecca. That's exactly what happens in that game.
Zombies.
He said they can't handle the cold. The cold's going to slow them down. It'll destroy the tissue by the dehydration effect of the cells. And if the temperature is fluctuating between freezing and non-freezing, that'll even make it go by faster. It's kind of like meat in the freezer, get freezer burned and everything. One point he did make, which I thought was interesting, he said biting is a terrible way to spread disease. He said that as soon as the disease is realized by the CDC, they'll shut down airports, they'll shut down mass transit, they will try to localize the disease wherever it starts.
Well, yeah, I mean, there's obviously a point to be made there, and he makes a point that airborne spreads better than contact spread, sure. Right. But if you have a creature that is motivated to bite you, right?
Like rabies.
That enhances the spreading of the zombie illness by biting. It's not just the random bite. These things are aggressively biting other people to turn them into zombies. And
this is the problem with rabies. I mean, so you can't really use that at all as an example because rabies is a very successful virus. It's a virus, right?
Yeah. This is why I've never bought into this too, because if it's not that zombies bite people and say you're quite tasty, now run along, they kill you and eat you and you're dead. And so the guys who did the zombie math equation, the diffusion equation, you guys talked about that a few months ago. Do they take that into account? I mean, most of the victims are going to be killed, not going to be just bitten and get away.
I seem to recall something about them considering a certain percentage would be killed and another percentage would be allowed to continue the population.
Right, but I think it would be really sensitive to that, so I don't know. I don't know if I'm buying into this whole zombie thing. And of course, you have to worry about neutrinos and zombies because it turns out it's seasonal as well. So,
Rebecca, it's funny that you mentioned rabies because he has a very funny quote in his article. He says, hey, remember that time when the dog got rabies and then a day later every single other dog on the continent had it? Except for a small band of survivors huddled in a basement? No? Never happened? It's kind of funny that...
Well, yeah, rabies is kind of a simmering infection, not a world apocalypse. But,
right.
And he is right, too, in that we probably would be able to shut this down. But that's why, movies that, and even, this is true of World War Z, that have a zombie apocalypse, there's a major failure of the governments and infrastructure in stemming it in its early stages,
right?
In order to let it get to that threshold point where it becomes a worldwide apocalypse.
I want to mention one more thing about the rabies thing. The reason why it doesn't result in every animal having rabies is because it doesn't affect every animal the same way. It doesn't affect humans the same way that it affects dogs. It doesn't make humans want to go out and bite things. It just kills them in a rather painful manner.
Well, that's like the 28 days.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
28 days
days later,
virus, where they weren't dead. They were just infected with a virus that made them, want to do it, enraged and go out and bite other people. Yeah,
they weren't really zombies.
The other thing the author doesn't mention is in some genres of zombies, when you die, you become a zombie. So that also will add to the numbers.
Yes, that's true. In some zombie movies, it is literally something in the air. That's true.
Yeah. Number 3, they can't heal from day-to-day damage. This is actually significant. Their inability to feel pain means that they'll get injured, and then that will speed up the decay and to the point where the body, they'll be less crippled. They'll be like zombies just lying around. They're so damaged.
That's true. That's pretty much universally accepted in all zombie fiction, that they just slowly break down because they're dead. There's no repair mechanism.
Lose an arm, lose a leg. Yep.
Also, people could take full advantage of the landscape. People wouldn't be really running around the street screaming. Like, people would hold themselves up, and it'd be very easy to protect yourself in a high-rise building from zombies.
Yeah.
Or a house, just take out the stairs. No stairs.
I wrote a short story about that. I wrote a short story about that on Fickly, which is a site that lets you only write 1,000 characters. And it was about a guy who gets trapped on the second floor, and the zombies just keep piling up outside until eventually...
Zombie pyramid, nice.
Yeah, basically, one can just walk up and break into the window.
Good thinking.
Cool.
They work like a swarm. Or an exploding zombie. Come on, a zombie bomb through the window.
Zombie bridges. They make bridges out of each other.
I'm watching Eureka. I'm catching up on Eureka, which is a show on the Sci-Fi Channel. And every week, I really enjoy it, and it's a fun show, and you don't take it too seriously, and it's enjoyable. But every week, something gets into the water supply. Something escapes from the giant corporation where they have super geniuses working, and they worry that it's in the water supply and it's going to kill everybody. And I think, well, maybe they should seal off their water supply. But what about zombies? I'm out here, and what if one of them decides to walk across Boulder Reservoir or wherever it is we get our water? I don't even know. That's such a great citizen I am. The entire town would be zombies almost immediately. In some towns, you might not be able to tell the difference.
They'd probably be like homeopathic zombies, though.
Yeah, here people, their crystals would protect them, I suppose.
All right, so the last one in his list is weapons and the people who use them. And the essence of this one is there are tons of people who have weapons and know how to use them. We're in the United States in particular, we're a very well-armed country. We have a huge armed forces, number of people, armed forces, millions of people in our standing army.
I don't know. Zombies, can zombies not feast on dogs, though, and things?
I'm sure they could.
There you go.
In the movies, they seem to not pay attention to other animals.
So out of curiosity, guys, scale of 1 to 10, 10 being total world apocalypse, 1 being it would be a minor blip. What do you think a zombie outbreak would be like for real? If it actually
7.5.
Wow. It depends on a lot of the details that we were talking about. How is it spread? What is the nature of the zombies? Can they run?
No, they can't.
Are they decaying, or are they sort of static but just not healing? Depends on a lot of things.
Steve, come on. Okay, let's not talk about anything then. Just throw a number out there.
Yeah, you guys don't hesitate to leap into the Drake equation, which is like bullshit upon
We
bullshit.
need a zombie equation.
A zombie
equation that will predict how long it will take for world zombie apocalypse based upon a number of variables.
Just make up the figures and plug them in.
Phil's right.
An equation.
There was an extensive write-up about it.
Yeah.
But I would give humanity a 50-50 chance of making a true zombie infestation.
Jeez.
I give us better odds than that.
Better odds.
I think the population would be decimated, but then, and I mean that literally.
Now you're fantasizing.
Just the ones I don't like.
Right.
And then, but would recover, ultimately. That's my professional opinion as a zombieologist.
Yes, I like making predictions that will never be challenged.